MTN, a landmark lost.
Yeah, it's sad to admit that it is the right decision.
This 19th century Columbus home will be torn down in the coming days after unsuccessful attempts to preserve its history. We ask what it meant to Stillwater County. Plus, photos released of the man alleged to have killed a healthcare CEO on a New York City street this week. The latest on day 3 of the manhunt. And a date which lives in infamy.
Pearl Harbor just is not a single battle in American military history. It is a seminal event in the history of the world.
Remembering the attack on Pearl Harbor and the Montanans who lost their lives in it 83 years ago tomorrow. The 4:30 news starts right now. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us on this first Friday in December. I'm Casey Conlon. It's likely to be the final Friday, however, for a Columbus home that has stood for more than 100 years. Deemed too costly to repair, the Norton house in Columbus is scheduled for demolition next week. As our Mac Carmack tells us, it's a sad reality for many.
Built at the turn of the 20th century, the Norton House has become a prized possession and bite of history in Stillwater County. And because of that, the decision to demolish the building has left mixed reactions amongst the community.
I still feel like it's a landmark. It should be there.
Some things never change, but in Columbus, a longtime community landmark will soon disappear.
And this was in about 1921.
This 1899 home, located right next door to the county courthouse.
It's literally falling apart kind of in front of our eyes.
The Norton House was built before Stillwater County even existed by Colonel William Norton, a soldier and a correspondent for the Helena Herald. Norton was a pioneer for the future town of Columbus.
He was a mover and a shaker, and it's just sad we have to lose the house.
Penny Redley is executive director of the Museum of the Beartooths. She tried to save the house from demolition multiple times and has decided to build an exhibit in Norton's honor.
Yeah, it's sad to admit that it is the right decision.
The Stillwater County Commission says the house would cost over $1 million in repairs to save.
You know, it's hard. Change is hard, and nobody wants to see a structure like this go.
But those who are the saddest to see it go are members of the Stillwater County community.
They should preserve something of this house because it's been there forever and a day.
Aliva Brandstetter is 83 years young. She's lived in Columbus since the 1940s and eventually became neighbors with the Norton house.
When I was just a young girl, probably over 5 or 6 years old, I used to go over and visit.
But she says she understands why it needs to be demolished. From the fallen bricks, to the rocky foundation, to the paint chippings. 50 years of abandonment has changed the Norton house from a pristine mansion to a health hazard.
Unfortunately, the last several decades of lack of maintenance to the Norton house has kind of exacerbated its condition.
But that also means losing a fundamental piece of Montana history.
It's sad that it hasn't had the care and upkeep, and now we are at this stage.
I don't think it's as safe as it used to be.
Unsafe, but a glimmer of what life used to be. In Columbus, Matt Carmack, MTN News.
A manhunt in the murder case of UnitedHealthcare CEO is in day 3, but the death has led to more than just expressions of shock and sympathy. Scripps News correspondent Patrick Terpstra tells us it also ignited a firestorm of fury online about the health insurance industry.
After the murder of the CEO of the largest health insurance provider in the U.S., there's been a widespread lack of sympathy and a barrage of hate directed toward the health insurance industry.
Unfortunately, sympathy requires a prior authorization, and I have to deny that request.
One person commenting on our reporting on the killing saying, "Private health insurance is so evil, this doesn't concern me one bit." Others sharing their stories of being denied coverage.
So UnitedHealthcare was like, you cannot add the baby to your health insurance policy.
This frustration is not a surprise to Professor Stefan Meyer at Columbia University.
It's not so surprising if you look at, surveys about like what industries are liked or not, or trusted or not, and health insurers are not at the top of that list, to put it mildly.
Law enforcement says that written on the ammunition used in the shooting were the words deny, defend, and depose.
It would seem to me that there is a nexus there with respect to, again, somebody going over and above to make sure that those 3 words were on the ammunition that was used in this case.
Denials of claims have been increasing across the board, according to a U.S. Senate investigative report found by Scripps News. UnitedHealthcare's denial rate for post-acute care climbing from about 11% in 2020 to almost 23% 2 years later. A new Commonwealth Fund survey finds nearly 1 in 4 older U.S. adults spending at least $2,000 out of pocket on health care last year.
After a fairly clear day, you can see the clouds are already advancing our direction, and we do have some changes in our forecast. Tonight we'll have some breezes, keeping the overnight lows milder than they should be for the first week of December. We'll have more clouds and stronger wind on Sunday. Also more wind with some chances for some snow and rain by Sunday and Monday. And the temperatures are definitely going to be dropping. As you can see, it looks beautiful outside. The advancing clouds are moving our way. Our 7-day forecast in just a few minutes.
Tomorrow, December 7th, marks the 83rd anniversary of the attack on Pearl Harbor. The Japanese attack caught the United States by surprise and claimed the lives of more than 2,400 Americans. Pearl Harbor Day remembers those lives lost and the struggle that followed as the U.S. entered and eventually helped turn the tide in World War II. Retired Colonel Ed Saunders, a former Gulf War combat veteran who has authored several books on military history, says his research shows 14 Montanans lost their lives in the attack, including one from Billings.
And because it changed us as a people, and we lost so many men, that is why we should always remember this and never forget what they did and never forget their memory.
A Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day ceremony will take place tomorrow at noon at the Yellowstone National Cemetery in Laurel. Yesterday, meanwhile, marked the 80th anniversary of the deactivation of the 1st Special Service Force. The force was a group of hundreds of men who specialized in dangerous missions during World War II. The men spent 9 months completing intense training in and around the mountains of Helena, and according to the Montana Military Museum, the force never failed a mission. It spent 251 days in combat and had more than 2,000 casualties, which was 134% of its combat strength. The FSSF captured 30,000 German prisoners and won 5 U.S. campaign stars along with 8 Canadian battle honors. It held its final formation and deactivation ceremony on December 5th of 1944.
The skills that they learned here in Helena had been so diluted with replacements, but they were still being given those almost impossible missions.
Woon says there are only 4 men living who are in the force, 2 in the U.S. and 2 in Canada. With just 45 days until he retakes the Oval Office, President-elect Donald Trump is still finalizing his cabinet picks, all while standing by his controversial pick for Secretary of Defense. Scripps News' Serena Marshall has the latest.
President-elect Donald Trump continues to firm up his administration with a slate of new nominations announced late Thursday. It comes as another one of his picks may be in need of a little muscle from the bully pulpit. President-elect Trump tapped former Georgia Senator David Perdue to be the U.S. ambassador to China. Perdue was CEO of Dollar General and a top executive at Sara Lee and Reebok. He's overseen significant corporate restructuring and lived in Singapore and Hong Kong. He's also named the 2 officials that would help carry out his planned immigration crackdown. Rodney Scott, his former Customs and Border Patrol chief, to head up the agency once again, and Caleb Vitello as acting director of Immigrations and Customs Enforcement. The agency hasn't had a Senate-confirmed director since 2017. Trump is also creating a new position, an AI and crypto czar. That won't require Senate confirmation, and it's for PayPal co-founder David O. Sachs. Sachs previously worked with Elon Musk at PayPal. Meanwhile, Trump's pick to lead the Department of Defense, Peter Hegseth, is vowing to fight on despite growing concerns from lawmakers over allegations of misogyny, alcohol abuse, and sexual misconduct, which he has denied. On Thursday, Hegseth vowed to continue his fight to be confirmed.
So we're going to earn those votes. We're fighting all the way through the tape. We're grateful to have the president's support because his vision for this Department of Defense is to bring it back to its core capacity.
The president-elect now propping up the former Fox News host in a social media post Friday, saying his support is strong and deep. He will be a fantastic, high-energy Secretary of Defense, one who leads with charisma and skill. Pete is a winner, and there is nothing that can be done to change that. One major roadblock for Hegseth is Republican lawmakers like Senator Joni Ernst. She's a former combat veteran and herself a survivor of sexual assault. She said on Thursday she hadn't gotten to a yes yet on Hegseth, but a lifeline from the president-elect could perhaps sway some holdouts. But it also comes amid reports his transition team is also looking at alternatives. Serena Marshall, Scripps News, Washington.
Still to come on the MTN 4:30 news, keeping Christmas safe, starting with your new toys. What to watch out for that might surprise you. But first, Jason is back with a full look at a blustery weekend. Stay with us.